guys, it's Jeremy. I am back with day number 5 of the My 30-Day World Challenge that has been put out by the Absolute Tabletop guys for the conjunction with their Dead Man's Guide to Dragongrin Kickstarter. And I am going to be answering the question today as a part of this new video series on the channel here called Life by the Square Inch, where I talk more about gaming and instead of just simply playing a lot of the games on my channel, this is going to be where I'm going to be doing a lot more talking about RPGs and crafting and things of that nature. So, instead of answering the question for just one of the world's settings that I have chosen to do 7 of them because I just couldn't pick between them. So, without further ado, here we go. Question number 5 is, what event in your world altered its history? First up is going to be Rospine. Out of all of my settings, Rospine unarguably has the longest and the deepest planned out history. So the answer to this question is that there are really several events, but one of which is the rise of the sentient dragons and their subsequent domination of the world at large, which eventually led to a war between them, and that war actually ended up shaping the planes as well as kind of reshaping the physical world itself. Another one of the events would be the signing of the Treaty of Kisramin, which ended up basically binding all of the soon-to-be gods to different realms of existence, away from the realm of mortals in particular. And there's others, but they all kind of take place after the period that we usually play Dungeons & Dragons in for Rospine, so there's not really any reason to go into those at this moment. The second setting is Aroth. The obvious choice with this setting is the event where the planet kind of became tidally locked. But this not only created one side to always be daytime, which is kind of scorched into a desert, and the other side, which is eternally night, really kind of a frozen wasteland. But it also generated the gray, kind of the area of mist that's kind of between the two hemispheres. And the mists that exist between them, between the two kind of extreme climates, it kind of serves as both a barrier between these two, but also as a rich source of mystery and speculation. So it's kind of a very strong focal point for the setting. The third setting that I'm going to talk about is Acid Rain. In September of 2002, which is 10 years previous to when the setting usually is used for Acid Rain, there's an event that was known as the Wipeout. The nuclear power plant on Troma Island had a meltdown that resulted in hundreds of deaths of the city of Haven Falls. And the Nakatomi Power Corporation tried to clean it up, but the majority of the city at that point had already begun to evacuate, and because they were afraid that it was going to happen again. So the rest of the city eventually was evacuated by force, and the bridges to the mainland were blown. So it was kind of left isolated, and then what remained of any kind of city government eventually sold it to a private company called Skynet. The fourth setting I'm going to talk about is Daurenland. The execution of the dwarven leader, the Emerald Emperor, in the northern kingdom of Diamonds is definitely probably the event that I would have to point to, because it has fueled the fires of war recently, and now the lands are kind of dividing into different sides. The lines in the sand have kind of been drawn, becoming more and more distinct as time goes on, and very soon the realm that was once 4 kingdoms will very likely become only 2. The fifth setting is Caldera. The event that I'm going to talk about for this is called the Reckoning. That's what I named the event that kind of destroyed the ancient kingdom of Darath and basically formed the Caldera itself. And I knew of Deadlands before I made Caldera, but I didn't know much about it. And the fact that the two events kind of share a name, it's honestly purely coincidental. But essentially, in this setting, it was a monumental, magical explosion, but not purely concussive force. Large portions of things simply vanished in an instant. Time and gravity were reversed in some areas. Storms of necrotic energy erupted. Fire rained down from the sky. It was, very biblical in scope, but it was fueled by magic. It obliterated the majority of the population and then kind of left nothing but ruins in its wake. So the sixth setting that I'm going to talk about is Chrome City. There were two events of note that kind of established the history in the moon of the moon of Cadian. The first is that the moon itself was established as a penal colony, a place where people would ship prisoners to from other moons and other systems. But it didn't stay that way for very long. The second event is that not long after the Harbinger arrived to orbit Bastion, there was a piece of it that actually broke off as it kind of collided with another moon. And that piece fell into Cadian's orbit and eventually crashed into a portion of Chrome City. And it began to kind of heavily impact the way that Astra functioned, and eventually it just led to a quarantine of the entire area and the outlawing of Astra magic anywhere kind of in the vicinity. So the last setting that I'm going to talk about is Momentum. The event that has most altered this setting onto its kind of present course was the death of the Colosseus, which are the enormous beings that kind of put this world into motion. No one knows exactly what happened, but many people believe that they actually realized their deaths were necessary in order to sustain the existence of the world itself. So, however, there's readily available evidence that some of the Colosseus didn't die willingly. Weapons and armor are present on many of their Titanic corpses, some of which are kind of going through several of them. So it's definitely not the whole story. But that answers question number 5. What event most altered the history in your world? And I have been Jeremy, and this is another video for Life by the Square Inch. And until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.